Player Profiler Nation, welcome to the latest episode of Trade Gods. I'm your host, Matty Kiwoom, joined by my fellow Trade God brethren, which I was told that's not grammatically correct, but you can shove it. I don't give a rip. The morning man himself, Mr. Jason Allwine. What's going on, Jay?
I'm not going to lie, Matty. I am actually just now coming around to that being a Patrick Mahomes jersey. We've been talking for like 10 minutes, and I knew you had a Kelce jersey, or at least I thought you had a Kelce jersey, and that's what I thought it was. And then I noticed now it's actually Patrick Mahomes. So that's where my head's at right now. I don't even know how I'm feeling. I'm just like, oh, wait, this whole time I thought he was wearing a Kelce jersey.
I just hit
but
you.
Actually, it's Patrick Mahomes. I'm a little shocked right now. A little taken aback.
Well, I'm going to break the fourth wall. We're talking about Travis Kelce this episode, so maybe that's where you were thinking. But no, this is a P. Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, the man, the myth, the legend, going to rock the Patrick Mahomes jersey. I haven't worn a jersey on TG in a while, so I had to. Yeah. And the reason why I also wanted to wear a jersey today is because we're not talking rookies. We're not talking rookie picks. We're not talking rookie drafts. It seems like that's kind of engulfed our thoughts and our takes lately for a good reason, right? Yeah. But today we're refocusing back on the leagues that we are part of. We are focusing back on the veterans, the guys who have been in the league. We have 10 veterans, and you listening need to buy each and every one of these bad boy vets. So, Jason, without further ado, shall we get into number 1 through 10?
I think we should do it, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. 10 players, 10 veterans that each and every one of you need to go out and buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football right now. Jason, what is your first buy candidate?
Yeah, this guy might have been drafted. I'll have to double check, but I think this guy might have been drafted while the turtleneck I'm wearing, the Atlanta Thrashers, were actually still the Atlanta Thrashers out in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure when I think about it, 2007 was when Matthew Stafford was drafted, and I think the Thrashers left around then. It doesn't matter. Why am I even talking about that right now? We're buying Matthew Stafford, guys. We are buying Matthew Stafford because we're honestly, really the big reason is that we're only a couple seasons removed from him finishing as the QB5 overall in 2021. He did that by throwing for 4,886 yards and 41 passing touchdowns, averaged 20 points a game over the season. Just an incredible year. And last year, after recovering from injury, when people, especially going into last season, he was recovering from a shoulder injury, people were saying he's done, he's dust. But that's not the case. He came back last year, and it wasn't like a great ceiling year for him at all, but still 3,900 passing yards, 24 passing touchdowns, averaged 17 points a game, and was pretty decent in a number of metrics. Had the 4th most red zone attempts, was 4th in money throws, 8th in yards per attempt. Just like a pretty solid year from him, all things considered. And this was a year also where Cooper Kupp was recovering from an ACL injury, and he was building a connection with rookie receiver Puka Nacua. Now we're a year removed from Cooper Kupp's injury. Now we're going into year 2 with Puka Nacua. They've also upgraded the running game by adding Kyren Williams 2.0 and Blake Corum, so there'll be a little bit more balance there. And he's also under contract through 2026. There is an out year after 2025. So at worst, we only have 2 more seasons of Matthew Stafford. But if they don't take that out, he's under contract for 2026 as well. And he's only 36 years old. So that would be about 39 if he finishes his career there, which, we're talking about 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers right now. So he'll probably still be around. And right now he's sitting at quarterback 27 on Keep Trade Cut and Player Profiler. And this is a guy with top 10 ceiling. And that's not even like being hot at all. He just finished as quarterback 5. And he has great weapons, pretty solid offensive line, great coaching staff in a shootout division. Give me Matthew Stafford.
If you're a win now team, would you move Michael Penix for Matthew Stafford?
That's tough because one thing I'm finding with Michael Penix is he's a great quarterback for win now rosters. Because he can just sit on your taxi squad and you probably already have a win now quarterback. So he's kind of like a succession plan. Instead of being Kirk Cousins, it's whatever washed up quarterback you'll have in a couple seasons instead, since it's fantasy. So, if I'm looking for that quarterback to throw me over the top, yes. But if I've already got a comfortable quarterback room and I have Michael Penix, I've looked into him in my Superflex draft, I think I would just hold on to him. because I am, we will be talking about Kirk Cousins shortly. So I do like the Atlanta Falcons passing offense.
That's right. That's right. No, I just wanted to ask because we're kind of where it boils down to is if you had the 112, 201, 202, would you move that if you needed a QB2? And you're saying, yeah, you would. But if you're a team that is looking to add a QB3, you're not moving Penix to get a QB3. So that's kind of the threshold there. The guy I'm going to talk about, we teased it at the tippity top of the show. This isn't the Travis Kelce jersey, but I am going to talk about Travis Kelce as a buy in Dynasty right now. He's tight end 10 on PlayerProfiler. Last year, the perception of Travis Kelce was he's already hit the wall. He's done. He's dust. But 14.6 fantasy points per game made him the number one fantasy point scorer at the tight end position on a points per game basis last year. He was tight end 3, even having missed 2 games, week 1 and week 18. He's still very much Travis Kelce. And now he's being valued as the number 10 overall tight end. He's still a difference maker. The metrics all suggest this. You look at it, you pop the hood and you look underneath. Let's see. All right, maybe he wasn't as good. Maybe he got lucky, a lot of touchdowns. No, he only had 5 touchdowns, Jason. Yep. That's the lowest mark since 2019. And now you bring in Xavier Worthy, you bring in Hollywood Brown, you bring in true, honest-to-goodness burners that can actually make plays. All of a sudden, defenses are now having to have 2 safeties deep. They can't avoid it as long as those 2 guys and that speed, that blazing speed is on the field. Mm-hmm. We're probably looking at a whole lot less focus from opposing defenses. And then you look at his yards per out run. Last year, it's 4th. His yak yards after catch was 4th. So he's just still got it. And right now, you look at markets, they'd suggest to you that you can get Travis Kelce for a projectable wide receiver, a 2nd-round rookie pick, a future first. If I'm looking to win, I'm moving any one of these pieces for Travis Kelce right now, looking at the win. And I've kind of come to grips. The name that keeps coming to my mind, that what I've seen in leagues and what I'd be okay moving is JSN. If I had a JSN share and I'm looking to win and my tight end room is not what I want it to be, I would move Jackson Smith and Jigba right now for Travis Kelce, a projectable wide receiver, someone that's not a lock to be in my lineup week in and week out for a that I think has more than 1 year left in the tank. They just extended him for another 2 years. So he's going to be around, and defenses cannot lock on a Kelce like they used to. So we could be looking at this by December being like, oh, well, what we knew what we knew, and we forgot to know we knew it, because there he is, tight end 1, and here he is beasting it up, and there she is, Taylor Swift's in the crowd. So I like Travis Kelce right now. Jason, what is your second buy target?
Yeah, I already kind of teased it, and it's another quarterback. I'm going back to the well for old dude Kirk Cousins. And it's because of the Michael Penix pick, as we just talked about. He was already pretty acquirable in Superflex leagues. Now he's become even more acquirable. He's sitting currently at quarterback 25 on Player Profiler and Keep Trade Cut. Actually, right behind Michael Penix, who's sitting at 24. But one thing to know about Kirk Cousins is that he's probably going to be the starting quarterback for most of the year this year for the Falcons, if not all of it, unless there's an injury. And when he's out there, we've seen really successful seasons from Kirk Cousins. Last year, before going down, he was actually the quarterback 6 from weeks 1 through 8, averaging 19.3 points per game. In those 8 weeks, had already thrown for over 2,000 yards and 18 passing touchdowns, and had 3 games over 20 points. Exactly what you want to see. And I know Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson is pretty damn good. Well, so is Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and we could maybe even throw in Darnell Mooney in there, who should be a pretty solid 3rd option in that offense. So I think that, and similar coaching staff as well. He's going from Kevin O'Connell from the Sean McVay tree to now the Raheem Morris kind of situation there with Zach Robinson, who is also from the McVay coaching tree. So things are basically going to be the same. And the only question is his health, which has provided a buying window for a guy that has really done nothing but produce in his time in the league. And last year had some really solid underlying metrics, was 2nd in clean pocket completion percentage, 6th in yards per attempt, 7th in accuracy rating, 7th in quarterback rating, was top 10 in both accuracy rating versus man and zone. So he's dicing up all types of defenses with great weapons in a solid offense, getting paid a ton of money. Give me some Kirk Cousins. Give me Kirko chains.
I always like Kirk Cousins. I would have had so much more faith in him over the course of a 2 or 3 year period had they not went out and got Michael Penix with the 8th overall pick. That will always cap the market of which I'm trying, or I should say the price of which I'm willing to spend. Do you kind of have that now that Penix is in town? Are you not willing to go that extra mile, that extra bit to get a Kirk Cousins?
I guess it depends on how much my competing window is. Like if I'm trying to compete this year, I think it's going to be Kirk Cousins all year. I do think that Penix could push the starting job in 2025, but this is definitely Kirk Cousins' year this season. But Michael Penix is out there. We've already seen the clips in rookie camp. He is out there spinning it. It looks
that was always the issue.
Damn sexy out there. I'm not gonna lie.
That's always the issue. I'm bringing in a guy like Michael Penix is he can spin it. And it will look real good seeing Penix to Pitts, Penix to London. It is what it is. But all right, go out and buy Kirk Cousins, and then don't watch any rookie camp footage.
Well, I should also not preface this, but maybe add, if you get Kirk Cousins, go that extra mile for Michael Penix. Maybe don't go the extra mile for Kirk Cousins, but if you're getting him, pay up for Penix. You don't want to lose out. You definitely still want the exposure to the Falcons offense. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Falcons fan. It's going to be a good offense.
Yeah. No, he's right. It does project to be a nice little fantasy offense. And you know what? They didn't do enough to address their defense, so they still could be in a whole lot of shootout catch-up situations, and we love that.
Rugor Horo hate over here is not accepted.
Rucoroho reach is what it was. It was an absolute reach. Braylon Trice, so I do like me some Braylon Trice. Anyhow, this is not a draft show. We said we were going to talk rookies, Jason. We were going to talk veterans, and here we are talking about rookie defensive linemen. What are you trying to drag me into?
What are you doing here?
Drag me into? Let's not do this. I could talk a Rucoroho if you want, but I won't. But I will talk about my second buy candidate. That's a veteran, and it's going to be ugly. So, folks, block your nose.
This is ugly.
It's Daniel Jones. The market has just gotten so low for Michael Jones. How low is it? Well, folks listening, it's gotten so low that you could potentially move a running back prospect to acquire Daniel Jones, a quarterback in Superflex. The market suggests that when you get player profile, when you can keep trade cut, that you could potentially move a Zach Charbonnet, a Kendre Miller, and acquire Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones, to me, is the guy you bring in similarly if you're trying to get Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins. This is not a 3-year buy window. This is, I need me a QB3 or QB2 right here, right now. The difference being between Stafford, Kirk Cousins, and Daniel Jones is I think you might have to pay more to the Stafford owner, to the Kirk Cousins owner, than you would the Daniel Jones owner. Because whoever has Daniel Jones is willing to move on. And you know what? I'll take me a Kendre Miller, a running back prospect. I'll take a Zach Charbonnet, and I'll move it for Daniel Jones because there is still a little bit of ceiling for Daniel Jones if we're talking small sample size, because in 2022, he was QB10 on a points per game basis. He had 700 rushing yards, and he does still possess that athleticism. He does still possess that Brian Daboll is his coach. That offense he still is in charge of. But now you add in Malik Neighbors. And the thing about Brian Daboll is he's always preached separation. When he was part of the Bills, that's why he loved Stephon Diggs so much and why Stephon Diggs made such a difference in the development and the evolution of Josh Allen and that offense as a whole. Malik Neighbors is that type of guy. He is that archetype. He is a separation specialist. He will make the quarterback's life a little bit easier. Now, of course, the offensive line could still pose an issue, but they have brought in some Band-Aids, some stopgaps to hopefully improve. Evan Neal, we're still looking for him to become a pro, like a true pro on the offensive line. But now the price is, it's really just a price thing for Daniel Jones. It's not that I believe in his long-term talent. It's not that I don't believe that they won't be right there looking at a quarterback in round number 1 in 2025, because I do. But if you can't get the buy now quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford, because let's face it, even the more casual dynasty team builders will recognize your desperation as you go after these quarterbacks. They're going to understand that this is the difference of you making the playoffs, not making the playoffs, and they will gouge prices. Daniel Jones, I do not see that happening because Daniel Jones' stock has fallen so far. The people who roster him don't want him. And if you can move that running back prospect or a pick on top of it, late pick, I'm talking 3rd, 4th, not 2nd or 1st, people. Get Daniel Jones and just hope that they can find something for him or find that back in him that they did in 2022.
I mean, I've said it a few times. Last year's Giants season just seemed cursed. I know it was terrible, but I feel like we should just throw it out the window. It was bad, and it just seemed like it wasn't football reasons. Like, it was just like everything that could go wrong went wrong for that team, except for Saquon Barkley getting hurt. But like, Darren Waller was absent. The receivers couldn't do anything. The offensive line was just so bad. So bad. And then Daniel Jones got hurt. They were using Tommy DeVito. Like, do you guys remember this? We were all doing the Italian thing. So, we can pump our brakes a little bit. Let's see how Daniel Jones looks with a true alpha receiver, a slightly upgraded offensive line, and, take the risk, take the risk. I'll ask you this. Are you getting Drew Lock too if you get Daniel Jones?
No, I don't. I think Drew Lock is just, you could get him on the waiver wire. He's going to be a hot shot. And the thing about Drew Lock, I think that, all that, what's the saying? All that changes still remains the same, whatever it is. It's the same goes for Drew Lock. He's going to be important for 2 weeks, and you could move a third if you absolutely need him, a second if you're super desperate. I'm not looking to get both. Whereas if I do get Cousins, I'm absolutely chasing Michael Penix or vice versa, to be honest.
Yeah, I do really want Kirk Cousins and trade gods after drafting Michael Penix, but the hairy snowman will not trade me Kirk Cousins.
God, come on, someone trade it to him. Jason, we each have a couple more vet buy targets that we're going to dive into, but before we do, we want all the folks listening to hear about the Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by PlayerProfiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help to strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty Guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our Rookie Guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
Trade gods coming back at you, Matty, Kiwoom, Jason Allwine, talking about 10 veterans that you need to buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Jason, what is your third vet buy target?
This one might be more expensive, but I'll talk about why you need to buy that bullet. And it is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews right now sitting at Keep Trade Cut tight end 7 and Player Profiler's tight end 5. And that might sound very, very expensive when you hear, top 5 asset at their position. But we talked about this a couple months ago. There's a huge discrepancy in player valuation. So they might be tight end 5 or whatever. But if you go to Keep Trade Cut right now, Mark Andrews is actually player 67. And to put that into perspective, Sam Laporta is player 22. So we're talking about a 40-player gap in the valuation between Sam Laporta and Mark Andrews. And I know that Sam Laporta is obviously young and just had a great season. But if we're just looking at a year-to-year basis, Mark Andrews has plenty to still finish as the tight end 1 on a seasonal basis. Oh, yeah. And when you're telling me that you could take a 2024 late first or Xavier Worthy or Jonathan Brooks or George Pickens or Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jordan Addison and T. Higgins and pivot into a position with scarcity at tight end and get one of the better ones historically, Mark Andrews, then I am doing that 10 times out of 10. And I'll just go ahead and add TJ Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts are in that range as well. And I think that's unfair. But Mark Andrews, of course, has the true, more proven, and TJ Hawkinson does as well. But I just wanted to pick one tight end. So I'll just go away from that. I'm talking about Mark Andrews today, who has in his career just been electric. We was just a couple seasons ago. He was the tight end 1. And before his injury this year, still was able to make a name for himself by finishing with the second most touchdowns among tight ends with 10. or sorry, 6 in 10 games, which is just, pretty good. And still finished with 500 receiving yards on top of those 6 touchdowns and averaged 13 points per game. Was 4th in target share, 4th in route participation, and 5th in points per game, as mentioned with the 13.6. So a good year from him before the injury. Now going into an offense that really didn't add much target competition. I think Devontae Walker is going to be a good field stretcher, but that's what he is. Isaiah Likely, I know, has been good when Mark Andrews has been hurt. But the thing there, when Mark Andrews has been hurt, he has not really sniffed the field too much when Mark Andrews is actually active. And so Mark Andrews, I think, is an easy dynasty buy right now.
I can't agree more about Mark Andrews. I think that he could be, for most of the things that I said regarding the reasons of buying a Travis Kelce, you could extrapolate some of them a lot in terms of why you should buy Mark Andrews too. Price is going to be a little bit more, but still an absolute difference maker. And this tight end wave that we loved and we saw in 23, we'll come to find out how true to stay it is in 2024 and beyond. So I like the idea of kind of going against the grain here instead of going for one of these McBrides, Laportas, younger tight ends, Bowers. Go ahead and get Mark Andrews, the Maninator, the monster. Get Andrews, baby.
I don't think I've heard that one, but I like it.
I have never even heard. I don't even think that's a word that's ever been uttered from a human being until right now. So that's why you come to Trade Gods to hear words said for the very first time in human history. But you also stick around for these buy targets. And I got one. If the Daniel Jones one didn't make you sick, this one might do it for you. But this is the biggest buy in Dynasty right now. The loudest, I will say, buy a player in Dynasty is this one. I cannot recommend getting him enough because the price is so low. Go buy running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott. That's right. The Cowboys brought him back. There it is. Ezekiel, but sorry, this is it. Go buy Ezekiel. No. You just spoke for the fans, all the Trade Gods viewers and listeners. You just spoke for them, but this is why it needs to be said. This is Zeke Elliott last year. I want to talk about it. Last year he was on the New England Patriots. Week 13. So he was basically a 20 to 40% snap share guy. It was the Ramondre Stevenson show. It was all that. Ramondre left, and starting in week 13, Zeke started seeing 70 to 90% snap share. And in those games, he scored 13.2 fantasy points. He was running back 15, 27. He was running back 1, 9.6. He was running back 27, 21, running back 6, 13.5. He was running back 26. He was a running back 1 or 2 in most weeks as a guy who got the lion's share of snaps. Rico Dowdle's fine, but there's no way that Dak Prescott, who is Zeke Elliott's best friend in real life, will stand for Zeke not being the strong side of the platoon. Do I expect him to have 70? No. But at some point in this year, I do think he will have games. I know he will have games of 70% more snaps, whether it be injury or just by consistency. He has some left in the tank. He's got a lot to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder going to the Dallas Cowboys. And I know it sounds gross, ladies and gentlemen, but if you tell me you can move a 25 late third to get him right now, you can move Wan'Dale Robinson, Rondale Moore, Jonathan Mingo to get this guy. You're talking about free 99 prices, roster clogging wide receivers, picks that you can recoup in time unquestionably. Move it now for Zeke before everyone realizes that there's going to be a running back in Dallas that's going to be a consistent running back 2 in fantasy. And I believe that guy is going to be Ezekiel Elliott, the guy who's done it before. The guy will do it again. So I'm sorry. It sucks. But this is the guy you're going to want in your roster now, because when the bullets are flying in the season, you're going to either use him or trade him. And it's going to be one of those, thank God I listened to the Trade Gods back in May.
Yeah. There's some value there. I saw Rico Dowdle dropped in one of my like super deep leagues, and I know we're talking about Zeke here, but I mean like
you got to pick him up too.
Running back room, and I mean I'm going to take some Rico Dowdle in a deep league. There's some opportunity there, so I like it. Mike McCarthy even came out yesterday, I believe, maybe Sunday, and said that from what he's seen from Zeke, their private workouts and stuff, that he doesn't think he's really lost anything from last time he was in Dallas.
He looked good in New England last year. He looked spry in New England. Caught the ball, looked like old Zeke. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
remember, Zeke is special. This isn't some guy who found his way to the field. This guy was a top 5 pick in the NFL. This guy is a 5-star prospect. This guy, if there was going to be an outlier of outliers in terms of longevity of all that stuff, it's a guy like Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. The way I like to put it is he is the best running back in the league at gaining 1.5 yards.
He is. He's so good at it.
Like,
he's so good at it.
3 yards, I don't know, but 1.5, he'll get you there almost every time.
1.5 yards in a cloud of dust. Jason, who is your 4th veteran buy target?
I'm staying old, dusty running back, going to 29-year-old Aaron Jones, who also has signed a swan song contract, finishing out his career more than likely as a Minnesota Viking, staying in division, getting 2 little revenge games against the Green Bay Packers, sitting at RB 36 on Keep Trade Cut and RB 30 on Player Profiler. And yeah, it's understandable. He's old, has had a little bit of injury battles the last couple seasons, but still finished the year really, really strong last year. From weeks 15 onward, an 11-point game, a 14-point game, a 14-point game, a 19-point game, a 32-point game, and a 17-point game, those last couple coming in the playoffs. And the Minnesota Vikings last year really did just feature one running back when they were both healthy. Like, it was Madison for most of the first part of the season. Then when Madison got hurt, Ty Chandler came in, and they kind of split carries a little bit at the end. But I don't think Ty Chandler did near enough to hold a player like Aaron Jones off the field. I do think that this 1-year contract worth about $7 to $8 million is to run him into the ground. They went out and they drafted a rookie quarterback, JJ McCarthy. They're going to have to rely on the run a little bit. And he's a pass catching running back. He's had last season, he had 30 receptions in only 11 games, had 59 receptions the year before that, 52 the year before that. So, I mean, this is an all-purpose running back on a good offense that's going to be relied upon. And he's done nothing in his career but produce 12 points per game, 14 points per game, 15 points per game, 18 points per game, 19 points per game, 14 points per game. Those are all of his totals dating back to 2018. I want a running back like that. I really do. And the Minnesota Vikings desperately needed help in the running department last year. Madison and Ty Chandler didn't cut it. They only had the 28th most rush attempts, the 29th most rush yards, and the 30th most rushing touchdowns. They'll get a little bit of boost with 29-year-old Aaron Jones, who is pissed that they gave the money to Josh Jacobs, and he's ready to take out his final year probably in the NFL, swan song season here as a Viking, and win us some championships.
What have you noticed about Aaron Jones, like his market? What does his market typically look like in some of the leagues you're in? Have you seen trades? Have you heard buzz?
It's honestly been completely stagnant. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've tried to acquire him once. And it didn't really come to fruition. They just, they valued him like me. They said that they expect a good season from him. But I think that the general sentiment, especially being RB 36 on Keep Trade Cut, should show that he's easily acquirable. It just might be like a different market. Like, you might have to do like a Kendre Miller or something like younger to get him, or you might have to give up a draft pick, or you might have to stay in the older RB market. Like, see what you can maybe trade, like a Kamara or a Derrick Henry, and get like Aaron Jones and something else to kind of bridge that gap. But it's possible, and I think it's going to score a crap ton of points next year.
Yeah, I was asking because I do roster Aaron Jones in one dynasty league, and I've only had a few nibbles, not any true interest, and I've been exactly that. I've been, you gotta pay more than you probably want for Aaron Jones, but I do think if you want to acquire Aaron Jones, he is the perfect tear down vet. So like you said, if you have a Nick Chubb and you want to tear down Aaron Jones, or Derrick Henry and tear down Aaron Jones and get a secondary asset, another pick, if your rookie draft hasn't happened, something of that nature, that makes sense. So Aaron Jones, I'm going to talk about Aaron Jones's former teammate and a player that I've gotten a lot of questions on. This might be the question the player that I've seen questioned the most in terms of should I buy this player. It's Jordan Love, quarterback from the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have reached out and just asked, what's up with Jordan Love? Should I buy Jordan Love? What's the price for Jordan Love? What do you think about Jordan Love? And I think that Jordan Love right now, the buy window is still open. It's not cheap, but I think that the fact that it's open is why you buy now, because I don't think it's going to be open all that much longer. And I'm here to say that if you have the 109, the 110, or even the 108, and all the quarterbacks are off the board, the top 4 quarterbacks, not all the quarterbacks, top 4 quarterbacks,
Yeah.
I'm willing to make that move. If you were asking me right now, choose JJ McCarthy or Jordan Love, I'm only a contract extension away from just saying Jordan Love right now. As long as he gets extended and he's part of this Packers team, which I imagine he will be, I am all green lights. I am all steam ahead on Jordan Love because he checks a lot of the boxes. Top 10 fantasy points per dropback, top 10 in air yards per attempt, in air yards total. He was just so much better than I thought he'd be. And I think that the 64.2% completion percentage can be improved upon. There were times where he looked a bit erratic. He looked inaccurate. And I think that the coaching of LaFleur and his development as a whole will continue to make that a little bit better. And if he can creep that up to the 67%, I think we're looking at a truly, truly effective quarterback on, the gridiron and in our fantasy leagues. 32 passing touchdowns. There's still some room for him to grow there. This is a guy with, wins above replacement numbers higher than a lot of names that you and I have really held in a high regard in fantasy. And Jordan Love is kind of on his ascension to being a top 10 guy perennially, and you could still get him right now. We have him at PlayerProfiler. He's QB 14 on PlayerProfiler. And I think that this is a guy that we will routinely see in the top 10. So I'm willing to pay the price for Jordan Love. The receiving core is young and exciting and can still get better. So it just feels like all systems are go. The lights are as green as his Green Bay Packers jersey. Anything about Jordan Love, Jason? And then take us away. Give us your last veteran buy target.
No, I think that Jordan Love is like the buy at quarterback and Superflex right now. Like if you're looking for someone that's going to take that jump into scoring you those like week winning matchups and has that top 5 seasonal potential, it's Jordan Love. I mean, it's a young ascending offense that throws the ball a ton, and Christian Watson's going to be healthy next year. Let's go, Christian Watson.
I love Christian Watson. Christian Watson.
He's so good. I really hope he stays healthy. But another player that hopefully stays healthy is 31.6-year-old Tyler Lockett that I'm also buying. Another guy that has done nothing in his career but produce. Last year, 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. The 4 years before that had over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns in all 4 years. And since 2018 has averaged 12 or more points per game. Last year had 7 games with more than 15 points. 3 games with more than 20 points. Averaged 7 targets a game. And he is now sitting at wide receiver 72 on Keep Trade Cut, right next to a 2024 third, Keaton Mitchell, Gabe Davis, Curtis Samuel, and Michael Wilson. Give me Tyler Lockett, guys. He now has a new offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, who with the Washington Huskies threw the ball 574 times last season, which was second most in college football. And they were on the opposite side, bottom of the league in rush attempts, only 411 times. They pass the ball a ton. Ryan Grubb does. I mean, granted, they had Adonze and Penix, but they now have Sam Howell or Geno Smith, whatever quarterback, DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett. They're going to be throwing the ball.
They're going to be throwing.
And I think they're going to finally bring out those 3 wide receiver sets. So anyway, I want Tyler Lockett. And to kind of further bring home the point, I mean, this could come down as jinxing to some people, but he's been kind of the picture of health as well. He played every single game last year, played 16 games in every single year from 2017 to 2022. So, I mean, and if you go watch Tyler Lockett highlights, dude avoids contact at all costs, whether it be running out of bounds or sliding or just catching the ball while falling. Like he's one of those smart receivers since he's undersized, and that's worked to his advantage. So I want Tyler Lockett. I really do. He's a really, really great, just kind of end of bench player that you can rely upon when the points start coming in. And
they made an effort to keep him. They had to restructure. They had to extend him. They had to make sure that the money worked, but they wanted to keep him around. He's an integral part to how they operate up in the Pacific Northwest. I love the Tyler Lockett take here and why people should buy. These are the type of vets that they seem so icky at this time of year because everyone wants youth, but the cost of bringing them in it dips so low that the risk is mitigated and the upside's still there. These guys are year in and year out ballers in fantasy. So Tyler Lockett. And my fifth and final buy candidate, buy target, I can't take credit for it. Sometimes you have to be honest, and sometimes you have to explain why you've had this take. And this take was not organically constructed in my brain. It was influenced by a tweet that I saw. It was a tweet that, Matt Kelly, the Podfather, he tweeted out that about Jahan Dotson and his best player comparable. And his best comparable player on PlayerProfiler is Tyler Lockett. And that got me thinking.
What are the odds?
Let me go look at this. And Matt Kelly's a smart individual. I mean, he knows a thing or two about a thing or two about a thing or two. Let me dive into this a little bit. Oh, wow. This is interesting. Tyler Lockett had 664 receiving yards, 597, 555, his first 3 years in the NFL. He did not eclipse double digits per game in fantasy until his 4th year in the league. Jahan Dotson is a first-round pick. He's athletic. He has burst. He has big playability. And he just got maybe the second-best quarterback in this entire class in Jaden Daniels. And the price to get a former first-round wide receiver has dipped to the point where I'm looking to buy in hope that the career arc of Tyler Lockett is what I'm expecting from Jahan Dotson. Now, will I have the patience to hold on a whole nother year of disappointment? Check in with me then. But right now, 2 years in, he's shown flashes. He has a season with 7 receiving touchdowns where he did have double-digit points per game in fantasy, something that Tyler Lockett couldn't do until his year 4. He did that his rookie year. I know it comes on 7 touchdowns, but fantasy points are fantasy points. You can't argue the facts. And Jahan Dotson right now, you could get for an aging running back, Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb at this point, I'll risk it with an Aaron Jones. I'll risk it going into the season with a Derrick Henry. I'm not risking Nick Chubb. That can be someone else's problem. That could be someone's success story or failure. I don't care, but it's not going to be me. So I would move my Nick Chubb for Jahan Dotson. And the price, if you look at his market, because he's wide receiver 73 right now at PlayerProfiler, the market for him suggests you could also move a late second in 25 to bring him aboard. I, of course, would suggest starting with a 25 third. I was able to acquire him for a 24 fourth in the league, so there is precedence for the value cratering throughout fantasy markets, and I'm buying. I'm trying to swoop in and buy, not with the expectation of putting in my lineup. If that's your need, if that's your path, your plan of attack right now, listen to Jason. Go after Lockett. But if you're looking just to add some extra depth, maybe you sold a little bit to win now last year, and you're trying to fill out that bench, you're trying to get a little deeper, this is a chance to buy into a guy like Jahan Dotson and hope to see that value skyrocket in this year. Jason, you talked about Tyler Lockett. Do you have anything about his comparable player here, his Spider-Man meme, Jahan Dotson?
I will say somebody in this Washington receiving room is going to smash at their cost right now. I'm not sure if it's McLaurin. I'm not sure if it's Dotson. I'm not sure if it's Sinnott. I'm not sure if it's McCaffrey. But I guarantee, I know this isn't even hot or bold or whatever, but I know that one of those players is going to win some people some money at the end of next season. Jaden Daniels is going to fall in love with one of those people, and that's going to be his connection as he gets acclimated to NFL speed. He's going to have someone that he locks onto. I don't know who it's going to be. We'll find out over the coming months who he's reading and stuff in these training camps. I've seen reports that he's really, really liking McCaffrey right now, but he of course hasn't practiced with McLaurin or Dotson yet. So it means a little less, but anyway, I do want to invest in this Commanders offense, and all of the receiving weapons are pretty cheap, whereas Jaden Daniels is not. So if I'm taking a chance on Jahan Dotson for a 4th rounder, hell yeah, I like that a lot.
Woo! Here we go. 10 veterans that we think you need to go out and buy right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, Daniel Jones, Jordan Love at quarterback, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott at running back, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Lockett at wide receiver, and Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews at tight end. Folks, stick around. That's not it. The show is not over. We're about to dive back into the TGIF, the Trade Gods Invitational, for the TGIF Trade of the Week. Woo. Boom, here we are. If you're watching on the screen, you see it. It is the 314, so the last pick of the third round for 2025 second. Jason, set the stage. Talk to the people. What's some context behind this, and why did we decide that this was going to be the TGIF Trade of the Week?
This is a very important lesson on trading during rookie drafts. And the reason this one in particular happened is the Trade Gods Invitational League. It's a 14-teamer. So we only do 3 rounds of rookie drafts. I think we might need to push it to 4, maybe. Maybe next year. I think 4 would be good. But anyway, only 3 rounds. The 314, very, very last pick of this year's draft. We do 12-hour timers because we want to, influence the fact that there should be trades, given it's a Trade Gods league. And so Siebes, to their credit, wanted to trade this pick. It was the last pick of the draft, and at that point, everyone's going to the free agency pool. So yeah, there might be someone you really, really want, but you could also try to gain some value and still get the player you want with some fab right after the draft ends. And so that was probably their plan. I'm not sure if it worked out or not. The pick ended up being Malik Washington, but I don't think it really matters what the player is. I think the big takeaway here is that you need to exercise patience at the very end of the draft. I know you want to get your guy, but there's just as much of a chance, if not more likely, that that player is not picked at that pick, and you can get him with some fab. And to use a second-round pick in the following season, I just think is a bit too much. I mean, this is essentially a 4th-round pick being the end of the 3rd round. And, I mean, who knows if that – I mean, like, that second-round pick could end up being high next year. I know you're trading that second-round pick in the hopes that you end up winning, and, it's a late pick. But even then, that's some big value. I know that we're going to be talking about some second-rounders next year that you're going to wish you had, and probably not this dart throw at the very end of the draft. I know that we're all excited in our rookie drafts and want to press that button and make that pick, but I think that this trade in particular is a nice lesson to just pump the brakes, let the things happen, and hold on to your future draft capital, because you never know when you might actually need it.
Patience is so important for here, and also process. Yeah. If this was a player that you had been trying to trade into the 3rd round to get, and you weren't able to do it, well, then just let the process play out and gamble a little bit. We don't always like gambling, but one pick had to happen, and then you're clear to get your player for fab only. And then if he was selected at the 314, then you make this trade. If you have to have this player, you absolutely have this player. And that is going to be kind of my takeaway from this, because I agree with you. Patience is key, especially in these rookie drafts. But also, once they're selected, there aren't any rules to say that they can't then be traded.
Yeah.
So if you like a player at any point in the draft, it can be in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, doesn't matter, and the price exceeds your comfort level, let them select it. You could still negotiate along the same path. Just because the pick becomes a player doesn't mean that the price has to go up. If they're saying to you, I want Drake May, and you go, well, I do too. This is my offer. They go, well, we'll give it to you, but here it is. I'm not looking to do it. It's okay. Let them pick Drake May. You can still trade for Drake May. Yeah. So if this was your guy, if you were dead set on Malik Washington, then make him pick it before you let him hold you hostage for a future pick, because that's what this is. I would imagine that negotiation started for a future 3rd for the 3rd, a bench player for this 3rd, and it progressed here. I can't imagine they just threw out the 2nd right away. For this player. And it's okay. If they would have taken Malik, that's okay. You still can negotiate a trade for Malik Washington now, and then you can pony up the 2nd. If you decide this is the guy, you can't leave without him. then go ahead and talk about it. But patience, man, I agree with you. It's all about the patience. Let it go and let the process kind of unravel it so you don't do something a little overhyped, a little overzealous, a little bit too much and bite off more than you can chew here in the third. And I'm also going to say this. I like the players in the third, so it's not this is not a reflection of avoiding or fading players in the third. I moved a future second to get 2 picks in the third in a rookie draft. They ended up being Audric Estime, and I want to say it was Ray Davis. It was running backs. I needed running backs, and that was those are tickets I was looking to punch. So it's not that I'm fading talent in the third round or trading for talent in the third round. But what we're saying here is have some patience and be okay trading for the player afterwards. Patience, process, player. That's what you got to know from the trade.
Peas.
The 3 P's. That's it. That's the show, Jay. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can get all your content. Let them know where Jay Allwine's be rocking.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at JFootballWine everywhere now. I've made accounts. Not saying I'm posting there too much yet, but I've done it. I'm taking the plunge to try to put content on more channels. So find JFootballWine. It wasn't taken. I wonder why. Wonder why JFootballWine was available. Curious. Anyway. You can also, if you like me talking about football, you can tune into Wake and Take at 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, talking about news or whatever else I feel like talking about that morning. And then, of course, just make sure you follow Player Profiler wherever you take in content. We are everywhere, giving out great information every single day. Player Profiler is the place to be if you want to win fantasy football championships. So hit that like button and subscribe to it. And listen to what Matty has to say also.
Well, what I'm going to say is listen to Jason. Tune into the morning show. Wake and Take every single day, whether it be best ball strategy, dynasty buys, the news and notes of the NFL. It's a great way to start your day. So make sure you're checking that out. And make sure you're subscribed to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Let's get these numbers up. Send us to the YT algo. We want to get these numbers up. So make sure you're liking and leaving comments. If you have a trade or a question, anything like that, you can leave it in the comments, or you can find me on X at Matty Kiwoom. Head over to thedraftrankings.com if you want some more of my work. If not, stay here for Player Profiler. Get the game plan, trade gods, the hurdle, futurecast, blue chips, all that good stuff. He's Jason Allwine. I'm Matty Kiwoom, and we are the trade gods, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.